everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I am Jody Grunwald. This week, my guest is Fred Waziak, President and CEO of the Food Bank of South Jersey. Fred and I talk about so many different topics, and the messages and lessons are truly in abundance during this episode. Some of the lessons that Fred shares include when you are present in the presence of others, that is truly a present, and that mindfulness, compassion, and selflessness are three key ingredients for people who are hungry for leadership. We discuss how the South Jersey Food Bank has always been a frontline organization, but of course the demand increased exponentially since March 2020. Your support can truly help make a difference. Go to foodbanksj.org to learn more. Knowing how important it is to support his staff, he continues to find creative ways to keep them cohesive. Fred talks about how imperative it is to trust and empower your team. There is a great story of something they do as an organization where neighborhoods have been created internally for the staff and how all are asked to join one no matter what department they are in. These are not the neighborhoods in which they serve. You will have to listen in to hear more about this great and creative concept. There is a moment in this episode where Fred shares a story about patience and how everything has its place in time. Fred and his daughter graduated for their master's degrees at the same college at the same time. This is a must-listen-to story. I could have talked with Fred for hours, as his energy and the information he shares in itself is a motivator. I believe that Fred is the type of change maker that truly doesn't know how much he positively impacts those around him. Fred is leading the global networking portion of the Today is the Day International Changemakers Forum, Challenge Yourself, Disrupt the Status Quo, on Thursday, March 24th. To meet Fred, learn more about the forum, the 6 Ignite Your Spark breakout session topics, the global mission moment, purchase tickets, sponsorships, or put a special ad in our Inspired Change section of our journal, visit todayisthedayliveit.com for this virtual forum. Your participation at any level will help you expand your reach and your sphere of influence. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Today is the Day Live It. The views expressed by all Today is the Day Changemakers podcast guests are their own. Their appearance on the Today is the Day Changemakers podcast does not imply any endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Happy holidays, everyone, and have a great week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I am Jody Grunwald, and every single week I say the same thing. I get to interview the most incredible human beings who are making a difference in the world. And today I have one of those incredible people with me, Fred Waziak. Hi, Fred. How are you?
Good morning. I am well, Jody. Good to see you.
Always good to see you as well. And Fred, I'm going to read from your bio because I think that it's so important for people to know. Background from your words. And so Fred Waziak is the president and CEO of the South Jersey Food Bank. He was named president and CEO of the Food Bank in 2018. He oversees all aspects of the organization, including financial sustainability, operational efficiency, community engagement, advocacy, staff enrichment, and board development. An accomplished executive with over 35 years of management and leadership experience, Fred is steering the Food Bank of South Jersey, the leading hunger relief organization in the southern region of New Jersey, into a future that builds upon the organization's core competencies while paving the way for innovation and sustainability. Wow, Fred, that's a huge statement. That's incredible.
You just got me nervous about my work there.
No, I mean, we'll talk about it, but your work there has been truly incredible, you and your team. Fred has served on boards of directors for numerous nonprofit organizations. He's the owner principal of Humanix Consulting, where he provided consulting, training, coaching, and development services for board, staff, and nonprofit organizations. He also served 27 years, no way, Fred, I don't believe it, 27 years in several YMCAs spanning from New York to New Jersey as a program director to CEO, and worked for Goodwill Industries of New Jersey and Philadelphia, initiating their community development program. He holds a Master's of Science degree in Human Services with a concentration in organizational management leadership. And let's see, and you reside in South Jersey with your wife, and you have 3 wonderful children, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and a new grandson. So, wow, incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. So I'm so happy to have you. You know that I've wanted to have you on the show for a bit. So I'm glad we're finally doing this.
Well, thank you for your patience. And, the year's not over yet, so I think we're ahead of schedule.
That's right. We're coming in towards the end. So I'm glad I was able to get you on. But I know how busy you've been, especially,
with COVID going on and the food bank. So give us a little bit of a scope of the work you do at the food bank.
Yeah, it's just it's wonderful, the vocational work, if you will. Especially now during the pandemic, hunger. Well, we were in a pandemic of food insecurity even before COVID hit. But what COVID has done, it's opened the eyes of Americans that hunger is real in America, and we're still serving at a much larger percentage than we were pre-COVID. But keep this in mind: the 2008 recession, food insecure numbers pre-2008 took 10 years to get back to those numbers. And so this COVID, that the pandemic that we've all experienced, has been the greatest food insecure event since the Great Depression. And so we're in this for a long haul. And we're just an organization that's blessed with a very good board of directors, staff that is mission driven, and really community support is helping us. We can't do it alone. So we've been blessed with community support and just all the stakeholders around the food bank that's really helping us meet the needs of our community.
Yeah, it's incredible work. And I know you've been appearing and once, in different media outlets, you've won awards, your organization has won awards, and that, kudos to the incredible work that you and your team are doing. I'm going to get back to that because I want to talk about some of the team building that you do that I know about that I think is just incredible. And all leaders need to do those types of things to continue to cultivate the relationships with their team. But before we do that, I just want to go back a little bit in time with you and talk a little bit about you and the type of child you were growing up and what your dreams were when you were a kid. And did you think you'd be doing all of this that you're doing right now?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was, it's interesting. I've probably been keeping a journey journal, if you will, since high school. And now, where all these journal things are, I don't know, but I do remember at one point, I was destined for something, and I didn't know what that was. Now, I grew up I had four brothers. All our names are FCW. We grew up in Niagara Falls, New York. My immediate dream was to be a phys ed teacher. And I was inspired because growing up in the school I went to, the ball was just rolled out, and I knew there was something more to phys ed than gym, and I just didn't like the term gym teacher. So I got my bachelor's in physical education, but it's, you don't know really where you have aspirations and goals, but I had no idea that I would ever be a food banker. And I remind the staff there, no one went to college or trainings to be a food banker, but everything we've done before has prepared us for what we're to do next. And you mentioned 27 years in the YMCA. What a wonderful career, unbelievable. But I had no idea that I would be here at the food bank. And so it's interesting. It's just I always had a nonprofit, if you will. Mission heart, just to help people, and it just was just one of those things.
I think that for many of us, and I've said this before in other podcasts, nonprofit finds us. It's not that we're searching it out. Like you said, not a lot of people are just going to say, okay, I'm going to go work for the food bank. That's my dream. People say they're going to be doctors, lawyers, or what have you, but it's not a typical thing. What do you think it is that led you to connect to nonprofit work? Was there a catalyst that made that happen in any way?
Yeah, I took it's interesting. My senior year in college, I don't know if it was a Myers-Briggs or it was some type of assessment of what do you want to do. And even during college, I worked for a group home, if you will. It was and so it was just one of those, and a grocery store. I think everyone in their life had worked at some grocery store in one way or another. But it was interesting. What came out of the Myers-Briggs that I would be involved in some type of physical environment type work, like a phys ed teacher, if you will, or athletics. The other one really, it said clergy, and so for me that was interesting. Geez, am I going to be a priest, or what does that mean? But what I found, even after college, I mean, I grew up in the YMCA. I had no idea my senior year in college that the YMCA would actually be a career. And then I fell into it 3 years after college. I taught for a couple of years. And I said, all right, this is interesting. Young Men's Christian Association. Now the Y has adapted and changed its brand. It's the Y now, not the YMCA. But I said, all right, maybe that was interesting because here I am doing wonderful work to help people enhance their spirit, mind, body through the physical education. My first job in the Y was the physical director. So it was interesting how this assessment led me to, all right, here's my service. And at that point, I had no idea that, I would be involved in just wonderful YMCA work, Y work for, the next 27 years. And so that was a very good question. Thank you. And but yeah, looking back at it, so that assessment, I didn't become a priest, but I guess my heart or my calling was to serve, and just a blessed career.
Well, it's interesting how, I'm just listening to your journey just in this few minutes, and it's kind of like you had taps on the shoulder along the way, but you didn't see, we don't see them when
it sounds cliche-ish, but you really can't fight the plan. And, is there a destiny for people? I don't know. I like reaching, what's your 5-year plan? What do I want to do 5 years from now? What do I want to accomplish? Who do I want to continue to be? It's a lifelong learning journey. And I'm still on that path. I look at this role with the food bank, incredible people. I mean, just people that I wish I knew 20 years ago, but here we are serving a community under an international pandemic of such. And, but who would have ever thought that the Y career would end? And what's my next assignment? And so, I look at this food bank as I said no 3 times to the job opportunity at the food bank. And, my wife's just so supportive, said, look, I support whatever you want to do. If just put your application in. And that was the best thing I did three years ago. And so it's this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Well, it's interesting. So in between the work that you were doing, you had humanics, and I know that we have that in common about the fact that we're both certified coaches. And just a quick backstory is that Fred and I met totally by accident, but there are no accidents, right? Fred, you meet people the way for a reason. And so Fred, I was working for the NJBIA, wasn't supposed to go on an appointment with a colleague, decided last minute, let's go together because we're going to meet with Fred and his team at the food bank. And as we're talking, he talks about being a Y guy. And I'm like, okay, I worked at the Y. And I don't even know how we got into talking about, I don't know if I mentioned or you mentioned it about being a coach. And then we both found out we had that in common, and became friends ever since. And the one thing I'll say is, it's just like I said, you said it, and we say it on the podcast all the time. It's, it's everybody we meet is either our teacher or our student. And I think that's so true in every single person that we come in contact with. So I'm grateful for that from you. You've been, we've
Same here.
And so let's talk a few minutes here about the coaching piece, because that was very interesting to me. And that obviously also has helped you at the food bank. That's also helped you with your team as well. Becoming a coach has so many great, wonderful aspects to it, that not just about one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, it's so after I left the Y, what's next? And so just the epiphany of I've been part of a wonderful organization, 30 years now, educator, nonprofit work. All right, let me give back. And I just the philosophy of humanics, enhancing an individual as a whole person, spirit, mind, body, and heart. And that was through Springfield College, where I got my master's. So I said, wow, let me just it sounds pretty good name for, I didn't want to have Fred Waziak LLC, but I wanted something with meaning. And so humanics really was a part of that groundwork. And as I was thinking about, all right, how do I position my services? And it just, I had a conversation with a former colleague of some of the trials and tribulations YMCA CEOs go through, YMCA directors. It's just you're giving, but how do you take pause and time out for yourself? And it was just this, like, holy smokes, I live that. 60-hour days, and you have a family, and how do you balance? How do you integrate? And I said, the other thing, in all those years, I've been coaching staff, coaching members, coaching colleagues. And I said, well, there's got to be more to this than just, so I dove deep into researching, what a structured coaching program looks like. And it was just eye-opening, but also I realized it was affirming that, my journey of nonprofit work, there was a structure now to actually a coaching process. And I just fell in love with it. And, it's just one of those things that, everyone has the answers within them. The coach is not there to tell you what to do. The coach is there to challenge and bring out the best of you. And it's just it's an incredible magic when you're in a coaching relationship, if you will, and you just see change and transformation and so forth. So it's really it's a cool thing. I enjoy it.
I always say our role is to uncover the buried treasure, the gems that are inside of
very true.
And that is very true. So now, I know that I've talked about some of the things that you've done for at the Wise, and then during your speaking opportunities that you've had, and of course internally at the food bank. What are some of those things that you have found, exercises that you have found to be really successful for those CEOs and leaders who may be listening to this? What are some of those things you can do to make sure that you continue to engage your staff, especially because we're in this hybrid still in some cases? What can people do to help coach their staff and make them feel together, even if they're separated?
Yeah, that's I think of compassion, and there's this whole thing about coaching with compassion. Meet people where they are, empathize with them. But the most important key of that, in order to meet people where they are and truly be authentic, is you have to be present. And if you're not present with self, and that's why, mindfulness, if I can do compassion, mindfulness, and selflessness, three key ingredients, I believe, resonates well with people who are hungry for leadership, hungry for direction, but also hungry for that sense of belonging. And when you meet people where they are and you're mindfully present, that servant leadership comes out naturally, and that resonates with people. We're all people. And I like to think about when you're present in the present, when you're present in a presence with someone, that is a present. That's a gift to them. And that's a gift of kindness. And just being present and listening, truly listening, because verbally you might be hearing what someone is telling you, but when you're mindfully present, you're hearing more around what the person's really saying. Now you can really dive deep and start the coaching with compassion, a process. Simon Sinek has a great book called, I think it's called Leaders Eat Last. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful book. It talks about the sense of belonging and how, neuroscience and the dopamine and the oxytocin, when those neurotransmitters are activated, there's a natural neurological, if you will, event that happens with bonding between people, between groups. And when you're present, and right now, Jody, you're nodding, you're agreeing with me. You are just throwing all kinds of dopamine my way, and I'm just getting like, oh my gosh, this person's listening to me. I'm feeling good. What we missed during the pandemic were the smiles. Smile is more contagious than a yawn. We can see a smile through the Zoom here, but when you're in person, that smile or that handshake, that handshake is oxytocin. There's that bonding, and we've missed all that just through all aspects of our humanity in the last 18 months. But when you bring that to an individual level within an organization or a group, but then you open that up into a group setting, really there's just magic that happens in engagement, the team building, the trust within groups. And that's kind of the journey that we took the last 3 years at the food bank.
I know that you were having meetings consistently, with your team and doing some fun things with them to keep them engaged. Any examples you could give us to give to
Yeah.
creatives out there?
Oh boy, how long we're supposed to be here today? Well, again, your journey of life, everything that you learn, experience, the ups and downs, the learning events, the continuing reading, prepares you for what you're not sure what actually is preparing you for. Taking over the being blessed with the position at the food bank, it was an organization that was hurting, if you will. And so it wasn't just an individual, but it was a whole organization that I had to meet with compassion. And one of the things, I call it raising the bar. How do you create a sense of belonging? Because especially in a food bank or any organization, there's so much to achieve, and it only gets done through deepening those relationships. So raising the bar, belonging, achievement, relationships, and two key questions. We created just to break down barriers on the first day. I randomly through a series of just engagement exercises, and then we created neighborhoods, if you will. So it was like group work, and each neighborhood consisted of different people from different departments within the food bank. But I asked 2 questions. I said, what are you most proud of in this organization? And secondly, what is one thing we can do better? Now, this is 4 hours into November 5th, 2018. Those 2 questions brought freedom, if you will, brought empowerment, brought that it was their voice. And ever since then, this neighborhood, any new staff that we have, they'll join the neighborhood. The neighborhood's created names. They created their own. So from that one question, what is one thing we can do better? Immediately engage this organization. Not just what we can do better. The challenge was, okay, let's put an action plan to what you want to do better with your neighborhood group. Let's put an action plan. And it's evolved into, 5 neighborhoods, 6 at a table, 8 at a table. Again, we've grown tremendously staff-wise, especially with the pandemic, just to build out capacity. I think now we have 8 or 9 neighborhoods. So part of the staff orientation is, you become part of a neighborhood and you jump right in there. But that created that sense of belonging, that people are able to work together, celebrate together, succeed in action steps together. And it wasn't me. And this is where coaching, right? Coaching comes in. I was not there to tell them what needed to be done. They helped me understand the climate and what we needed to do. And so my role is just to support and make sure they have the resources, they have the opportunities as we move forward. And I believe that work, Jody, pre-pandemic, that all that work we did, including a strategic plan with the whole organization, prepared us to thrive through this pandemic. And we're still in it versus them trying to survive. And so it was, a magical time.
Yeah, incredible. So I think some of the listeners may want to understand what is a neighborhood. Can you share a little bit about what a neighborhood means?
Yeah, well, we serve neighborhoods. Our model at the food bank, we're in 58 different communities in 4 counties: Camden, Burlington, Gloucester, and Salem County. And we have over 205 plus pantries, partnering organizations, other 501c3 nonprofits that we provide food services to, and they serve their neighborhoods. And so just to model, just what this team is doing, the food bank's been around for our food bank's been around for 36 years. We're serving neighborhoods, we're serving individuals and communities. So to have just that carry over that service that we do, let's serve each other. We have our neighborhoods, and each neighborhood consisted again of 6 to 8 people from all different departments. Our operations staff, our program staff, health and wellness staff, our drivers, our warehouse staff. All these different roles are part of a neighborhood. Inclusion. And so it's everyone has a voice, and so that really resonated. And but it's really just it's just a beautiful thing. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't go without blood, sweat, and tears. Every neighborhood has its things, right? Even just in our normal neighborhoods, like geez, that neighbor's too loud, or that neighbor won't be quiet. Oh, this neighbor has knows all the answers. But what's great about that is the diversity within the neighborhoods just makes it a more powerful outcome. And so it's good stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful. Everything comes down to connection, right? We want to be connected. We're human beings. That's just what we need. We need that. Like you said, being in person, being able to feel energy is something that we were all missing while we were on Zoom. And having your neighbors and your neighborhood, that gives you different energy. Walking into one of our favorite places, Starbucks. Well, there's energy when you walk into that establishment.
Where everybody knows your name. Yeah.
Giving away my trade secrets, Fred.
Well, you got to keep working for that free drink, so I understand.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I should have them as a sponsor of this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
But I think that there's that common denominator. And so don't get me wrong, I'm trying to make sure I understand. In the neighborhoods, do they have meetings? And then out certain things that is like, something that they want to accomplish or do as a neighborhood?
Yeah, that is correct. So all the action steps, the actionable items, the tasks, they created within their own. So after the first year, we have quarterly all staff meetings. So the neighborhood, at the end of that first meeting, they presented to the whole group, all right, here's our top priority, 1, 2, 3 things that we want to see different, and here's what we're going to do about it. And so they would create, and then 3 months later they would come back and report back to the whole group in their progress. And so again, this has been going on. We even had all Zoom meetings, and neighborhoods would meet. But what also the dynamic of that is the supervisors in the warehouse were committed to ensuring that our forklift pullers or truck drivers actually built in time to meet with the neighborhoods, so no one's excluded. And that's challenging too, because we want to ensure all the food we're to distribute that day does get distributed. But we've worked around that. And so, it's all voices are equal within a neighborhood, and it has grown. One neighborhood is we have a monthly newsletter now. And so they're like the producers, the reporters, the publishers, and every month, Juneteenth, we have what we call the, oh my goodness, it'll come to me. It's a great name. But the one neighborhood is working with all our DEI programs, and so they planned a wonderful celebration, which it was the first time all our staff were together since we shut down the pandemic this past June. But we set up just a wonderful festive luncheon outdoors. So anyway, so each neighborhood, communication, safety. And so all these neighborhoods just took and they change year to year too, depending on the needs that they create and moving so forth. So it's it's ever evolving, but it really has brought that sense of, as Simon Sinek talks about, that sense of belonging is so strong. You can't dictate, you have to belong, you have to do this. But when it's authentically, from ground up and it becomes their own, it's just a beautiful thing to watch. And for me, it's just, to be part of this. And again, I'm part of all the neighborhoods. So it's not, our department heads are kind of the community leaders, because there's different neighborhoods and different communities. So we've really evolved to a really wonderful sense of belonging. But that name will come to me.
No, and when it does, just let us know. It happens
Yes.
all the time. It's interesting. The reason I wanted you to really hear that was because I think that not a lot of times, especially because we've been in such uncharted territory right now with what everybody's been dealing with, a lot of leaders have just, as we all have, been overwhelmed just trying to figure out what they were going to do about staff, what they were going to do about services.
Yeah.
And weren't able to always cultivate the relationships internally within the organization, and I've heard stories of that. And that's why I love giving examples of things that have worked for those who may be searching for ideas.
Since we're all humans, so whether you're in the for-profit or the size of a nonprofit or a community organization, you can't fight neuroscience and the power of that bonding of the oxytocin and the dopamine and those relationships. It does work. But you just got to put ego aside and trust the people that are part of that organization. And we started talking about working remotely even before the pandemic. And what was interesting is that what came out of that is if you trust your staff within the confines of your building, your facility, then why can't you trust them outside of that? And what we found with the pandemic, immediately 50% of our staff went remote, as many organizations, but we needed our hands on the boxes, our drivers, our pullers, our essential workers, frontline workers, to ensure that everyone's getting fed. But our environment, people thrived, and not everyone, 99% of our staff thrived working because we already created a strong bond, a strong trust. If you don't trust people in the building, well, first, you shouldn't have them on your team. Secondly, why would you trust them if they're going to work outside the building? So again, it just comes around that whole concept of, the culture that you build around engagement, around that sense of belonging, around trust. Our health and wellness department, we have 15 health educators that would go out and teach healthy nutrition classes to the 200 plus pantries in our, the 58 communities. But when COVID hit, they were incredible. They pivoted to over 30 online curricula, a couple of thousand sessions. So people were able to access their online nutrition teaching versus in face-to-face. And now it's a hybrid. But again, we had a team that you trust to go out to these communities and teach right in front. Boy, did they take it to the next step when they created all these online courses being remote. So it really, but it all starts with, foundational culture, the leadership and the team around you that really makes these things happen. I'm not in this alone. I mean, it's an incredible team of people. And anytime I'm in a room, with my lead team, I am not the smartest one in the room. And so it's an incredible challenge to try to stay a step ahead of this great group. And boy, they hold me accountable as well. And that's okay.
Yes, and I know they have a special jar in your office. Am I correct on this?
Yeah. I'm losing money daily. It's the dad joke jar. Every dad joke, I have to put $1 in there, and so I'm gonna have to get a second jar. But it's fun.
Yes, and that's the one thing I have to say is when I walked in to the food bank, I could have, in the offices when we went to meet, I have to say you could definitely feel the culture difference within the organization. Just see the dynamic. And I think that that's really important when you cultivate the relationships and really connect and ask questions and let them have a voice. And all of those things are just so incredibly important. I did want to know though, too, and of all the things that you've done and what an incredible career that is just still continuing and you're doing such amazing work. What would you say was your greatest reward to date?
Professionally?
Professional. We know, I might assume, and I should never assume, the grandson might be, and the kids. Beyond that.
That's a very good question. The greatest reward to date, I think, just collectively to be blessed to be able to serve. That's all I have for you on that one.
No, that's such a big one, right?
It is. I just and I'm not done yet. So I hope there's more to do, more to accomplish. I'm not sure what all that means, but I think it's just a collective that just been blessed with the opportunity to serve.
And for those who are listening who may be in a space of, well, I've got all these obstacles, I have my dreams, I'm very connected to what I want to do, I don't know how to get there. Is there an obstacle that you had experienced that you could share that you were able to overcome? Because maybe your journey was just so well placed for you, but not everybody has it.
Oh, no. I think as all people, you've been hired, you've been fired, you don't get a grant that you wanted, or you didn't, just all kinds of things. But you just got to take that breath and say, okay, what does this experience mean? Am I going to dwell in the sorrow of a down, or am I going to say, okay, what is it I need to do to be better or learn from this? Because all our experiences, really, they're just learning events that helps us build resilience, knowledge, awareness, being able to be a mentor through those experiences. It's how many times you get back up on the horse. But if you get back up on the horse one more time than you fell down, you're going to keep moving forward. And, just with just encouragement, a support group, family, friends, colleagues, your personal board, if you will, your board of directors, hire those people that you can rely on. And, through my, all these years now that, there's so many people that, I probably have one of the largest board of directors around, but it's your support group. But it's also knowing that there's something more, and you can't fight the plan. So, if an obstacle comes in your way, all right, how do you respond to it? Where we get in trouble, or we really find ourselves going downwards when we react to something. But when you take that step back and you pause for a second, and how do you respond to a situation, really opens up the door for wonderful things that you had no idea. You just keep going. You just got to dig deep and just believe in yourself, have faith, and keep moving it forward, because wonderful things are around that corner.
And one of the things that I learned, and I learned a little later, I wish I would have learned it earlier, was about mentorship, as you said, and finding those people that you can connect with who can help guide you. And they come from, not your typical places sometimes. Sometimes it's a colleague, sometimes it's a teacher. I've heard a lot of teacher stories. Sometimes it's your best friend, but it's who is it that's going to believe in you enough, or as you're learning to believe in yourself, because we all try to do that, but sometimes it's more difficult. So I think, I've learned so much from you and so many of my Changemaker guests, and it's incredible. If you open up enough and be present, as you said, and that's the key, and be present in the moment, to be willing to be taught. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it does. And here's just a quick story, if I may, about not knowing where your journey goes. My senior year in high school, I got a letter from the Springfield College basketball coach. They were looking at me to play basketball. That was so exciting. About 3 weeks later, I got a letter from the admissions department that my grades weren't good enough to enter the college. I said, oh my gosh. Well, Springfield College was known as the YMCA college, the birth of YMCA education, if you will. But in high school, I just wanted to play basketball at the place where basketball was invented. It was just like a cool thing. Well, about 28 years later, my daughter, we visited Springfield College. She got accepted. She fell in love with it. So I was living vicariously through my daughter going to Springfield College. Well, she ended up staying there to get her master's. And at that point, I said, you know what? let me go get my master's. And lo and behold, I got my master's degree from Springfield College, and we graduated together with our master's degree. And so I'm convinced I invented selfies, but we have this beautiful selfie. So my time was not to be at Springfield College back in the 70s. My time was not to get my master's at any other university. But the cool thing is that my time was to actually celebrate and just have the honor of standing.
How beautiful is that?
Can't fight the plan. You gotta just wrap your arms around it and make the best of it, and beautiful things happen.
Wow. Okay. I always say I have to bring tissues when I do podcasts, and I never have them near me. Honestly, what an incredible story. And thank you for sharing that with us, Fred. That was just great. And
yeah,
there is no better way to say about how your journey is than that story. And, just incredible that you were able to share that and share that with your daughter. So special.
Well, and the other thing with getting that master's really set the stage for me to start Humanics Consulting, because it was that Humanics philosophy. So looking back, like, oh my gosh, I was so frustrated and so like, oh, why can't I get this? Why can't I do this now? But looking back, everything had its place in time to grow, develop, and move forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I could talk to you for hours, and I know there's so many stories that we can all learn from, because everybody learns from Fred. That's for sure. Anybody who comes in contact with him.
Oh, you're too kind.
People could tell you that. And just a quick plug here is that Fred is going to be running the international networking at the International Changemakers.
Oh, pressure.
It's going to be super great. And just to be able to, he's going to give us some exercises to do so that we can connect and be present with those from all over the world. So I'm super excited about that.
Oh, I'm just honored for you to invite me to lead that opening engagement activity, and I'm really looking forward to it. You're doing great work, Jody.
Oh, thanks, Fred.
Appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to ask you the last question I ask all of my guests, and it is it's so many different answers, which I love. Is, if you knew then what you know now, what would that be?
Be patient.
Yeah, that's it. That's 2 words.
Just be patient, because the journey, it's a beautiful journey. That's overall. Boy, I got to dig deep.
This is why I do not prepare my guests, because we want to
say that one more time.
If you knew then what you know now, what would that be? What would you tell your younger self? And be patient was a really great one, because
yeah,
immediately.
Just have fun. It's going to be okay.
That's great.
And it's okay.
And it is. And I'm just so grateful to have met you along this journey. Like I said, it's incredible. So everybody today and tomorrow, but we can only live in today.
Mm-hmm.
Watch for the signs and make sure that those that you are connecting with, be present for. I think those are the gems that we can take out of today's interview, Fred, is that being present and making sure to be, when you're feeling that connection, be right there on the journey with that other person you're talking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anything, well, before we go, please tell everybody where they can find information about the food bank and how they can support the food bank. That's very important.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up. Foodbanksj.org. This pandemic, again, has opened the eyes that hunger is real in America. You, yourself, a neighbor or friend may have need of food, experiencing food insecurity. On our website, there's a food finder. You just have to plug in your zip code, and it'll help direct you to a pantry in the neighborhood that you live. Again, we're in 58 communities, 200 plus pantries. The other thing is that monetary donations really help us purchase the right healthy plate foods. $1 equals 3 meals. So if you find it within your means, you can go to our website, foodbanksj.org, and you can find the tab to help to donate and support a local neighbor, a friend, a family member. So thank you for that.
No, absolutely. So anything else, any last messages from Fred today?
Yeah, this is, we talk about coaching with compassion, and just, it's asking those questions. Leadership is asking those right questions, and coaching isn't telling someone what to do, but you bring out the best of them. But one of the things I try to remember, our staff at the food bank and anyone in your journey is, to remind people what their purpose is, that there is hope. Also, you want to have that compassionate, environment, in mindfulness, again, to be present, be in tune with the whole person's spirit, mind, body, and heart tells you more than just what they're saying. And lastly, anytime anyone leaves your conversation, they should feel inspired and that it was a fun, fun environment, and so forth. So that's the compassionate realm out there. Provide hope, show compassion, be mindful, and just stay inspired and have fun along the way.
Thank you for all those beautiful messages, Fred. I so enjoyed our conversation.
Same here.
And keep up the phenomenal work that you're doing. I mean, just an incredible.
Thank you.
So I'm blessed to know you, and I am excited about March 24th, where you'll be leading our event. So
Yep, that's 2022, right?
2022, March 24, 2022. Tickets are actually available already, so I'm excited about that.
Excellent.
All right, so I'm going to say what I always say at the end of every podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small or large step are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Fred Waziak, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And
thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Make it a great day.
Exactly. Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.